the issue, because this was a sticking point yesterday for many of the candidates when they had the consultative forum with the IEBC in terms of whether to use this complementary manual voter register or to just go electronic the whole way. And of course, this has been a huge sticking point for the 2017 presidential petition to have that accountability. Where do you stand on that? And we know this is still a matter in court that is still being deliberated on. But where do you stand on this issue?
Okay, and I admire the passion Honorable Sosion has portrayed with respect to discussions around education. And I insist that any government that invests a lot in its learning, on its learners and teachers, paints a picture of a very brilliant, good country with good minds in future. On the question of IEBC, Victoria, one of the things that we know as a country is that in 2017, this is a bit funny this time round. In 2017, the faction led by Honorable Raila Odinga at the time challenged IEBC. It was vice versa. IEBC at the moment is insisting on using the digital register. It is trying to stay away from the manual register at the moment today. But at that time, IEBC was trying to say, let us use the manual register as a complementary mechanism, and the court coalition at the time, NASA at the time, argued before court that there is no need of using the manual register. Let us stick ourselves to the digital register. And there were so many flaws. There were so many gaps, there were so many problems with respect to the digital register. And there was a Supreme Court judgment, an advisory at the time, that talked about how to seal these loopholes before we get to the general election. That is what has led to the annulment of the presidential election. Where we are finding ourselves is, if we again find ourselves with a presidential petition, and which most likely is the case because we have become a litigious nation, the Supreme Court will ask itself, what we have advised the IEBC to do in 2017, has it been sealed? Have those gaps been addressed? And at the moment, we are having a discussion around whether we need to have the digital register or the manual register. But I think the most important thing is for IEBC to give the people of Kenya hope that if we are using the digital register, 100% assurance that the digital register shall work. That is the kind of confirmation that we need from IEBC. And IEBC has tried to address that by saying it has so many KIMS kits available. If at all any fails, it will have another one to help. But now the argument around is that on the part of the faction led by, on the part of Azimio coalition, it is trying to say, let us now incorporate the manual register as a complementary mechanism because that is the anticipation of the law. And I think that is okay. The only catch on my part that I will put in is, if in the event the digital register fails, let us have a critical or serious process before we embark on using the manual register. Let us have those checks, and those checks can lie with the office of the CEO by making certain approvals only when and where the digital register fails. But this time around, we are confident that the IEBC has assured us, the people of Kenya, that the digital register shall work. And our politicians end up opposing each other for the sake. Yesterday, the Deputy President was requested from the IEBC, if you give us the guarantee that we shall have the digital register working 100%, we have no problem with it. And that is, I think, you can always not compare using digital with the analog system. Digital is always where the world is going to. It is very important that we appreciate the digital registers. But what we equally need to do is, let us look at the Court of Appeal judgment and the High Court judgment that has been rendered in 2017. Those two have advised us as Kenyans that we need to have the complementary mechanism to ensure that the voter is not frustrated when I get to the ballot. If you want to use the digital register, make it 100% accurate. In the event something falls, give us a fallback plan. And that is, I think, when we are talking about, that's why we are talking about the manual register.
Kevin, let me bring you in here because, back in 2017, there were 2.5 million voters who had to rely on the physical register when the KIMS kits, were not able to work. We know the concerns from the IABC. They say the manual register can be manipulated and whatnot. But where do you kind of see this issue going, according to what at least the Supreme Court had called for and the law as well?
Yeah, Victoria, it's quite a disturbing scenario because IEBC has been here with us for the last 5 years. Quite uninspiring that this is only happening 39 days to the next general election. The question that therefore begs generally is the level of preparedness of the IEBC. And constitutionally, it is only the IEBC that can be able to adjudicate on the matters of elections. Despite all these other stakeholders, the buck stops at the seat of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And if you look at this conversation we are having against other ongoing conversations which relate to the numbers that you're referring to, for example, 2.5 million in 2017, and moving forward, IEBC had actually hoped to register 6 million plus new voters. For the two levels of enhanced mass voter registration processes last year in October and this year in February, March, April, those numbers were never matched. There is a fundamental reason why people are not getting inspired and hopeful about the engagements of IEBC. And IEBC, therefore, in my view, should have spent time to address the challenges, Victoria, that we are talking about, which were raised in the Supreme Court presidential petition in 2013, leading to the preparedness in 2017, where we also had a petition. I don't see very strong engagements post-elections because we can already foresee how probably the election may go. But the question that begs fundamentally is, how is IEBC prepared to inspire as many people to walk to the polling stations? Because the levels of apathy are so high. And I'm saying this because we're engaging on a project called Kenya Election Watch 2022, and people don't feel inspired, both by the candidates, the kinds of politics that is going on, the narratives from manifestos to some conflict areas like Marsabit, Turkana, Isiolo, Nakuru, where I am at right now, you know, and the levels of commitment by political parties to address these issues that would therefore inspire Kenyans to actually wake up early in the morning, or from where I come from in Rarieda, where we don't even sleep on election day. We go full night, a night vigil until we walk into the polling stations at 2 and queue the whole day to vote. People don't feel inspired, Victoria. It is because of the difficult questions that IEBC is being asked. So that, for example, one of the presidential candidates has raised concerns around voters being moved from this end to the other end. The voter register audit questions should have been dealt with way back. And some of these issues, Victoria, were also canvassed during the BBI process, which of course was thrown out by the courts. But where was IEBC seated when Kenyans were having these difficult conversations? So my way of looking at it is that IEBC has to spend all the oil they have to inspire hope, to inspire confidence that it is a commission that is able, that 39 days to the election, they're able to address these issues and ensure that every Kenyan who has registered as a voter will be able to wake up early and go and vote, because it will be quite disenfranchising to somebody who goes there and the KIMS cannot read your biometrics. The conversations around whether it is electronic, digital, or analog, manual, I think is not for the common citizen. It should not even for the presidential candidates. But it's happening because IEBC has failed, and we've had conversations with the commission and they've said, we didn't have money to do some of these things. Yes, that is true, but to the extent that we wait until it is this too late, Victoria, is not quite promising for me. And so it's a matter that is still being canvassed, being discussed, and conversations are going on. We are looking forward to having mechanisms that will be able to inspire hope and confidence among Kenyans on the levels of preparedness of the commission. And there are so many other things that are going on that Kenyans are asking, aspects to do with voter education mechanisms, civic education mechanisms, the fact that you have these huge numbers, even from MCA level, when you walk into that polling station, how do you identify the person you are voting for? The fact that in some of the funerals I have attended, Victoria, where people are told, if you like me, because I know you like me, put a tick. And because you don't like my opponent, put an X. And then you are talking 2.5 papers in 2017 that were spoiled, rejected, and just messed up. A lot of this, therefore, rests with the IEBC. And I'm also happy that they were able to sit with the presidential candidates. The candidates didn't have to ask for a platform, because it's Mheshimiwa William Ruto, it's Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga who asked for a mechanism when he raised his 10-point issues. And there are questions that were raised in 2013 and also 2017. So IEBC, my appeal to you as a Kenyan to get inspired to go and vote, because that is also a vote of either confidence on you or a vote of no confidence on you in terms of how you prepare us and administer a free, fair, accountable, transparent, and effective election. Is also given based on the numbers. If you have 22.1 million registered voters, how many at the tail end of it will be able to present themselves and cast their votes. Victoria.
Suleiman, you wanted to respond really quickly.
Yeah, I think, Victoria, at the moment, we may not be having a lot of options as a country and as Kenyans. This is a time to look at IEBC positively because the election is here with us. Let us be like those countries. You know, countries such as India have given a lot of support to the electoral commissions. And I think this is the time that we need to give a lot of support to IEBC because IEBC is trying to wind up on this very critical process at this stage is as a result of lack of finances. You know, Parliament and the Treasury in general did not allocate the necessary finances in time. If IEBC was given the good funds in time, we could have blamed the IEBC for not putting in place the structures and processes by now. But I think IEBC is trying to work within a very short timeline as a result of the finances that were availed to them at this very late stage. But I think because the election is here with us, let us see IEBC what it's doing. Let us ask the good questions that would enable IEBC to be criticized positively to impact how the general election shall be held. And I think it was a good gesture having the leading all the presidential contenders appearing before the IEBC, sharing their concerns. And we really hope that IEBC will look at what Kenyans need most and they will deliver a very good and credible general election.
You know, Honorable Sosion, do you feel these interactions with the IEBC and candidates is helping raise the trust factor that indeed. Kevin was talking about?
Indeed, that is what we expect of independent commissions. Independent commissions are meant to operate independently, but all their programs, particularly the users of IEBC are the presidential candidates and all those who are contesting. It's important to engage in this interaction so that all the processes and activities, they are part and parcel, they understand where the ballot papers are being printed, they understand, and the representatives of the presidential candidates can visit, they can check the packing, the delivery, and the entire process of voting, and including even the mode of transmission of results that must be agreed upon. And all this should be done in terms of implementing the Kriegler report that was given to this country, because an election can destroy a country if it is not handled well. But where elections are free and fair and transparent, and presidential candidates understand fully how IEBC shall be able to conduct its business, is important. And I would wish to state that the desire to use Kim's kits and fully shift IEBC operations to digital is what Kriegler recommended. We would not like a situation where somebody will mess up with the digital systems of voting and tell us that on that particular day during voting, the kits are not working because somebody wants to. That will be met instantly with total resistance, because that will be an attempt to rig elections. Yeah. This country, we still have fraudsters and individuals who would like to mess with the electoral process. So this electoral process, the digital register must work and must be operational and must be functional on that day. That is in accordance with Kriegler recommendation. We had the digital register working very well in 2017. But in 2013, the first few minutes, the digital registers were not working. And that is why, what is this argument of arguing for the hard copy register as a fallback position? That really is not right. We will be... But
that's captured in law, to give a
complementary system.
Yeah, it's captured in law, yes. But I think our democracy should fully evolve, and our electoral process should fully evolve to using the Kim's kits and the digital register. There is no reason.
But our digital infrastructure is not...
Our ICT
we don't have 100% digital infrastructure.
Our ICT infrastructure, there is no reason why we cannot have that. And at this age and time. And there was simulation of these systems by the IEBC. And this simulation IEBC should be able to address itself. And I agree, we all need to support IEBC. IEBC should continue with the preparation and simulation and ensure that on the polling day, all voters in Kenya are voting electronically. That process, the voting process, will move faster.
Yes.
The elections will be closed on time. The counting of ballots will be done systematically, and results will flow in a manner that's acceptable the way it's done in the US.
But to be fair, during that simulation, Honorable Sossion, there was only a 45% success rate, you know, so there were still issues with coverage.
And why the simulation was done was so that the gaps can be identified.
Yeah.
If the 55% gaps is still unmet, then IEBC has enough time within the remaining period
39 days to election day.
It must.
It's very tight.
There's no choice. And I agree with my brother here that these independent commissions, you don't create an institution and you don't fund it.
Correct.
They must be funded. And that is why in Kenya Kwanza, our principle will be we must strengthen institutions, fund them properly, let them work. That is the principle of good governance. And once we have that, everything will fall in place. And we will see a robust country that will be changing with equal opportunities, economic and social justice for all the people of Kenya. We cannot wait until 2027. Then we begin simulating failures of IEBC 1 month or 2 months to the election of 2027. Once we are done with the election in August, IEBC should be facilitated and enabled to prepare for the elections of 2027. Yeah. And that is what we need to do as a democracy. Strengthen our democracy so that our democracy is one of the best in the world. And that is a commitment within Kenya Kwanza. We are not just making these promises of charters, of manifesto. We want good governance, democratic, transparent, and orderly governance where institutions function in this country and are fully supported.
I want to shift gears really quickly to the front page of The Standard. This, of course, came up yesterday after Kenya Kwanza had revealed Uhuru's Dubai ports deal and basically putting the president on the spot for engaging a foreign company to manage and develop Mombasa, Lamu and Kisumu ports. And this was, of course, from some documentation that had been signed by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, who he said this was just an agreement framework. This was not binding. But, you know, let me come to you first, Honorable Sossion, to get your thoughts on that, and then Suleiman. As we get into the home stretch.
We've been talking about corruption here, and there's corruption that is protected by government. And this is a big irregularity. When the new curriculum was brought into the country, we said, yes, this was mortgaging the country. And we were actually threatening the sovereignty of the state. And it has come to pass that things are not working. There are many other mega corruption scandals, the KEMSA scandal, that we've not had an answer. There are other very many investments that we've seen in this country that are unconstitutional, like almost abolishing the county of Nairobi and replacing it with NMS that has got a lot of business flagships that are not understood inside. This is state capture of our national economy. The expressway, we don't know who owns it, and it's reaping billions of shillings. And we look at other parastatals, even Kenya Airways. We don't know who owns it with this privatization. And this attempt to privatize the port of Mombasa. And we've seen the letter which we revealed yesterday as Kenya Kwanza, where the Minister for the Cabinet Secretary Treasury is writing to a company in Dubai to trigger processes of takeover of the port of all our ports and harbors in Kenya. This one actually is ceding the sovereignty of our country. We cannot give out our major economic infrastructure to foreigners. And really, we are not sure whether they are foreigners. They could be Kenyans who are using foreigners to annex some of these major infrastructure. And this is a very, very serious undertaking. And now we are urging Kenyans, open your eyes. The cartels who have captured the economy for many years, they now want to run away with everything that has existed in this country. The port of Lamu, the port of Mombasa, port of Kisumu, and these dry ports within the country. And this is fundamentally wrong. And we are going to take further stern measures on this because we can't allow our resources to be taken away. The national resources are national resources and they must be protected. Yeah. It cannot be taken through the back door by individuals. I was shocked yesterday to see Professor Makau Mutua trying to condemn the statement from the side of Kenya Kwanza. And I'm wondering, What locus does he have to try and protect the mega corruption scandals? If you take away the port of Mombasa, then you are impoverishing the people of Mombasa, who benefit and who are from the operations of the port. Our major national infrastructure must remain national. They must be owned by the nationals, and any change in management must be taken through public participation and must comply with the provisions of the law, the provisions of our procurement laws, and also the Constitution. This is a frightening affair, and we cannot give out tomorrow. We will hear Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has been taken over by some companies.
Well, let's see how this matter is handled in the coming days. But Suleiman,
this one now Kenyans should see who are the people who are interested in controlling their wealth to the detriment of their lives.
And that's definitely a burden that will be maybe